for being with us on this Monday morning. We're in Virginia getting ready for the defense case to begin any minute in the civil trial over the shooting of teacher Abby Zwerner. She was shot by one of her first grade students, a 6-year-old boy, brought a gun to school and shot her. Thank goodness she survived. Well, now she's suing the school's assistant vice principal, Dr. Ebony Parker, for a sum of $40 million. Showing you a live look at the courtroom right now. The judge sent the jury on a quick break. They were very patient in the jury room, waiting for the arguments to conclude about the defense's first witness. So while we're waiting for the jury to get in the box and for the testimony to get underway, let's take a look back at the plaintiff's testimony on direct.
What did you see right before you were shot that day on January 6, 2023?
The moment went by very fast. I remember Dr. Watson touched on it briefly earlier. The look on the student's face is a large memory that I have. I do remember it was like a very blank look, but it wasn't a blank look at all on his face.
And is that why you lifted your hand? Did you know what was about to happen?
Yes. Yep.
And what is the last thing you remember that day at the school?
The last thing I remember at the school. Obvious, I thought I was dying. I thought I had died. I thought I was either on my way to heaven or in heaven, but then it all got black, and so I then thought I wasn't going there. And then my next memory is I see 2 coworkers around me, and I process that I'm hurt, and they're putting pressure on where I'm hurt.
And Abby, can you describe for the jury a little bit about how you're still feeling physically and emotionally? And I know that's a big question.
Physically,
Can you describe how it is with your left hand still? The things you can and can't do, even to this day? So Abby, can you tell the jury when we have lunch together, are you able to open your potato chips, or do I open your potato chips for you?
I asked you, we had, we catered sandwiches in a box, and a small bag of chips and cookies were catered, and I was trying to open the bag of chips on my own multiple times, different ways, trying to hold it different ways, and I eventually asked you to open it. It's the same thing with water bottles. Overall, I would say it's I do struggle with things, doing things.
And for example, we heard from your sister yesterday, and she described a change in your relationship with not only her, but friends. Are you able to explain a little bit to the jury about how you feel maybe those relationships have been changed?
The best I can explain it, it's like I still feel connected and close, but it's also that feeling of distance, a little numbness, and it's like I know I trust the person I'm with. You know, I love them, I know them, but there's something that's just different. I can't necessarily put it into words.
And what about, we heard from your mother about the movie Hamilton. You were planning to go to it that day. What happened that changed your mind when you had already purchased the tickets and made those plans?
It was a Saturday. I remember waking up. I woke up and I remembered that there was a scene where two characters had dueled with firearms, and when we had started making the plans to see the movie, when the Saturday was coming up to see the movie, it just never flew through my mind. I had seen Hamilton before, but for some reason when I woke up that day to go see the movie, it just flew right into my head, and just an overwhelming sense of, I felt like everything just came over my body. And I remember I called my mom. I don't remember if I was crying on the phone to her. I don't remember if it was afterwards. But I remember crying a lot. And I remember that afterwards, they were asking me what else would I want to do instead that day. So, okay, we can't go to the movies. What do you want to do instead? Where else would you want to go instead? And I remember telling them nowhere. Like, I can't go anywhere. I just want to stay home. I'm not going anywhere today. I can't. And I remember that it was my mom and my sister, so it wasn't just my mom and I planning to go. It was my mom, my sister, and I, all three of us planning to go. And then they proposed to come over to my place. And even that still, I didn't want. No, just leave me alone. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to see anyone. I don't want to. No. To my mom and my sister.
Yeah, no doubt she's been through a lot. Going to need a lot of therapy to get through what has traumatized her, no doubt, for the rest of her life. That was Abby Zwerner on direct examination. We're going to be hearing the other side of this story any minute now. The jury is still on a break. Rough start to the Monday morning for them, not for us. We're rocking and rolling here at Court TV. We're ready to go as soon as that jury's in the box. But the defense had as a witness on deck. The plaintiff objected. Lots of back and forth arguments. The judge has the patience of a saint and says that this witness can come in. It's a psychologist who the defense is going to begin its case with. So we're getting ready for that. What are you most looking forward to seeing in the defense case? I got to tell you, I want to hear from Dr. Ebony Parker. That's who I want to hear from. I want to hear things right from her, what her thinking was on that day, what exactly she knew. You know, there was a lot of telephone going on from what students were reporting to teachers, teachers talking to other teachers, some going back to that principal's office, some staying in the classroom. Let's discuss it with our guest. She's a law enforcement analyst, Sunny Slaughter, on the show today. Sunny, good morning to you. All right, so let's talk about what you're most looking forward to seeing in the defense case, please.
Good morning, Julie. Thank you for having me as always. So I'm looking forward to what you are looking forward to. I want to hear what Dr. Ebony Parker was thinking. What was she doing? What had her distracted from actually doing what's in her job description? And that is the counsel and discipline of students. I want to find out what she thought her job description was, what she thought she was supposed to do, and why she didn't do it. What was her explanation for just sitting there while numerous people more than once said that they suspected that this child may have had a gun, regardless of his age, because age does not dictate whether a person can have a gun. We already know that young children, the data is clear, have had access to weapons. They have pulled them. Other people have been killed and harmed. So what was she thinking? And why didn't she think that this was even probable at all? When the reality is her job very specifically and in schools knows that this is something that could happen.
Right, Sunny. I can't imagine what it's like to work in a school system these days. I mean, I can't imagine how extra vigilant everybody has to be, how people are on high alert constantly. You have some experience doing school board service work, right? Would you tell us a little bit about some of the concerns that may come up there where you can lend them your expertise from your law enforcement work?
So, and thank you for acknowledging that. I was a school board member for the city of Trenton, New Jersey. And one of the things is now more than ever, school board members, parents, school administrators, and particularly those that have access to weapons need to stay focused on the safety and security of those weapons to ensure that they don't not only get in the hands of the children that live in the household, but those that also may visit. And that is including anyone that should not have access to your guns. And that means unless you are teaching someone and you have that experience, no one should be handling firearms, and particularly your firearm, at any time. Keep them safe and secure. And school board officials and members, they need to be constantly training, not just on the drills, but on the cases like we are covering right here, on the incidents that happen across the country, because what happens across the country matters every single where. And we already know that the data is clear that children under the age of 11, if you look at the data regarding firearms, have had access to firearms, and that means they can have them, bring them to school just like this 6-year-old should. So they need to ask more questions, focus on more training, identify issues in children that need to be addressed. And this child probably should not have been in this particular school. We used to do VVRs, violence and vandalism reports, and this child would have had a consistent view from everyone involved, from the principals down to the board members, to say, you know, this child might need some other services in addition to the IEPs that he was getting. So we need to stay focused on this, and particularly schools, educators, administrators, and know what your duty is, and don't breach that duty of safety and security of the children and the students. I mean, the children, the parents, and even those that visit schools.
Yes, but really important and chilling information you're sharing with us. Sunny Slaughter, thank you for that. I'm so glad you're here. Stand by, please. We'll hit a break. When we come back, we're going into that courtroom in Virginia, getting ready for the defense case to begin.
Here you are, responsible for the lifelong torment of an entire family. Is that evil in your mind now? So now you've taken her mother's life, and you heroically step in to console her.
I knew it was wrong, but yeah, I still did it.
Did you murder her mother to try and drive her back into your arms? Oh my God.
Interview with a Killer. New episode Saturday night at 8 Eastern and Pacific, only on Court TV.
Thanks so much for being with us on this Monday morning. I'm Julie Grant, and this is Court TV Live. I want to show you the trials we're tracking for you right now. In California, we got the sentencing for Jake Haro, scheduled to happen later today at 5 p.m. Eastern. This guy already pleaded guilty to murdering his son, 7-month-old baby Emmanuel Haro. The baby's remains still have not been found. Court TV is on the ground there in California, and we will broadcast that hearing for you live. In Colorado, we've got Barry Morphew with a status conference today at 3 p.m. Eastern. He's accused of murdering his wife, Suzanne. And in Virginia, we've got the defense case expected to begin any minute now in the civil trial for Abby Zwerner. She's suing this woman you see here, Dr. Ebony Parker, after she was shot by a 6-year-old student in the school. We have the first witness up. The jury is back in the box after the long Halloween weekend. And we've got a clip from a deposition being played. That is the first piece of evidence this jury is going to be seeing in the defense case. So let's go in together live for that.
We're going to begin by playing portions of Ms. Werner's deposition.
Before the shooting on January 6, 2023, did Dr. Parker ever explicitly tell you that she would promise to agree or agree to protect you from John Doe? No. And this would include protecting you from a potential shooting or any other assaultive conduct by John Doe?
Did she tell me those words?
Yes, before the shooting, did she ever explicitly promise or agree to protect you from an assault by John Doe?
No.
On January 6, 2023, was the only time you communicated with Dr. Parker directly before the shooting was when you went to her office at lunch to tell her about the behavior in the lunchroom?
Yes.
After that conversation, did you have any further communication with Dr. Parker?
No.
Do you have any direct knowledge, personal knowledge, of how Dr. Parker responded to any report regarding whether John Doe had a weapon?
Yes, what Mr. Rawls told me when Mr. Rawls came and spoke in my room.
I'm asking for personal knowledge that you yourself overheard from Dr. Parker.
Herself speaking?
Yes.
No.
At the time you spoke with Dr. Parker in her office on the morning of January 6th when you left the lunchroom, did you have any knowledge that John Doe might have a weapon of any kind?
No.
Did you have any reason to suspect he might have a weapon of any kind?
No.
But you received warnings after you spoke with Dr. Parker about John Doe potentially having a weapon?
Yes.
And then you received subsequent information throughout the day about John Doe, or you either observed or heard things that made you concerned that he might have a weapon?
A little bit, yes.
You never told Dr. Parker that you had reason to suspect that John Doe had a weapon, correct?
I only spoke to her at the lunchtime.
And you didn't convey the new information that you gained throughout the day to Dr. Parker?
I only spoke to her at lunchtime.
Correct. Did you ever isolate John Doe from the class on January 6, 2023?
No.
And you never sought out guidance, Ms. Palladini or Mr. Rawls, on January 6, 2023?
No.
Okay, so a couple clips there from the deposition of Abby Zwerner, Zwerner is her last name. And so the defense counsel trying to make a couple points. Perhaps it was things they might have forgotten to bring out on cross. This start to the defense case, I think, is pretty flat. That's me. Let me ask our law enforcement expert guest, who's also a consultant. She consults on litigation matters. And so attorneys will contact her for advice and guidance on how to best and most effectively present the case. Sunny Slaughter standing by remotely with us. Sunny, I was surprised after we had all the back and forth about the psychologist who was going to be the first witness, and then we get tape of the depo in choppy pieces. What did you think of that start?
I've thought about the fact that this is where they're starting. They're struggling. They're coming out of the gates short. Hopefully they will pick it up, because I would not have advised my client to go this route. They should have started the way they kept addressing, and that was with their actual witness on the witness stand, because this seems out of context to what they're supposed to be explaining to me. I did not catch on, and like you said, it was choppy. Where's the gap that they're trying to fill with this particular deposition and what they just showed? I don't see it. Mm-hmm. What are they trying to prove with this release? I'm not sure. You know, they're kind of weak on the argument because this is so sensitive. I would not have started here, and I would not have suggested my client start here.
Right, Sunny. Yeah, I didn't think you would. I wanted to ask the question, but I didn't think you would suggest that, starting with the videotape when they had the chance to cross her. You know, and it's like if you missed it, you still, and you know this, Sunny, in a civil case, they can still call Abby Zwerner. If they wanted to call her as an adverse witness, they can do that. If they really felt like, gosh, we got a bunch of stuff we have to clean up, then do it that way. I kind of thought it was just a really weak way to begin this case. And now I'm getting some notes, Sunny, that we have that doctor witness who all the arguments were about, Dr. Lee Hagen. This is him. This is who the plaintiff was objecting to. Now he's on the stand. So while he's going through his CV, we're going to hit our break. We'll go back into the courtroom together live right after this.
I just remember her facial expression. It was kind of like a look of shock.
And is that one of the reasons you didn't have a good feeling?
Probably.
Did you hear the shooting?
Yes.
Okay. Once you heard the shooting, what did you think that was?
I knew it was a gunshot.
And where did you think it had come from?
Abby's room.
Oh, welcome back to Court TV Live. We are in the civil case over the shooting of a teacher by a 6-year-old student. We're in the defense case. We've got the first defense witness on the stand. This is Dr. Lee Hagen, a general and forensic clinical psychologist. Let's go in together live.
Offer opinions on the methods and procedures that a mental health professional should use when conducting an evaluation and rendering a diagnosis, with full anticipation that that information will be used in court. And then finally, the third of 3 points, to offer information about the problems when offering a mental health diagnosis in court.
And have you ever met the plaintiff, Ms. Zwerner?
I have not.
What about Dr. Parker, our client?
No.
And I want to ask you to tell the jury about the information that you considered. Mr. Coleman, could you just publish that to Dr. Hagen only?
So So there were 4 categories of information that I considered. The first was information from the plaintiff that she provided to the defense side that included her complaint and some other information. The second category I considered were the plaintiff's medical records, including her out-of-work notice from...
Object, Your Honor. I don't know if the witness isn't offering any opinions pertinent to the plaintiff. 703 does not permit the witness to opine or just begin to testify as to all the information that they relied upon.
I'm sorry, he's just testifying to what he reviewed. And you're objecting to that?
Correct.
Okay.
In other words, he's just saying these are all the things I looked at.
That's overruled. It's relevant.
Okay. So the plaintiff's out-of-work note from February 14 of 24, and then there was some counseling records from a group called Abundant Life, both before and after January 6 of 23, and there was the Boulders Ambulatory Surgery Center, the North American Partners in Anesthesia, the Ortho Virginia records, the Riverside Orthopedic and Sports Medicine records, the Riverside Physical Therapy records, the Riverside Regional Medical Center X-ray records, the primary care physician records out of West Point Family Medicine, and the plaintiff's radiographs, as well as the Newport News Fire Department's patient care report from January 6th of 23. So that's the information provided by the plaintiff, followed by the medical records I reviewed. Then there were 2 other categories, the third being the depositions. The plaintiff's 2-part deposition, and I'm not sure if I can...
I think you can say what he reviewed, Your Honor.
Okay, as well as the plaintiff's mental health expert report and designation, Dr. Watson. And then there was the 4th category were other materials that I considered, and those included the following. Of course, Dr. Watson's report, and then Dr. Watson's deposition, the plaintiff's Empire Beauty School records, her grades, the requirements, her attendance, her performance, as well as the plaintiff's emails and her text messages before and after January 6th of 23, her Facebook posting, text messages between the plaintiff and her colleagues, and text between texts with friends and other colleagues. And there's an agency in Virginia that licenses professionals to do certain things like hair, nails, and so forth. That's called the Virginia Department of Professional Occupation Regulations to verify the plaintiff's license, and also to see what their requirements are for a person to become licensed as a hair person.
Dr. Hagen, is the information you considered of a type usually relied on for the purpose for which you were hired?
It is.
And are there any issues about which you will not be offering opinions?
Several. I'm giving no opinions whatsoever on liability. I'm giving no opinions about anyone that I haven't personally evaluated, and I'm not going to get out of my lane and reach into the job of the jury with any ultimate opinions.
As a result of the information you considered, did you form opinions?
I did.
And are the opinions you formed held to a reasonable degree of psychological certainty?
They are.
Dr. Hagen, when assessing whether the forensic practice standards apply, what standards or apply to a mental health professional when offering a diagnostic opinion in court. Tell us about the forensic standards that apply both to a psychologist and a psychiatrist.
One of the sources of standards comes from the American Academy of Psychiatry and Law. And that standard says that a mental health professional's...
Objection here, sir.
You have a response?
He can state the basis for his opinion, Your Honor. That's clear in the case law. Otherwise, inadmissible hearsay forming the base of an expert opinion may be admissible for a purpose other than the truth, such to demonstrate the basis of his opinion.
Are you personally familiar with the forensic standards?
I am, Your Honor.
Overruled.
So that standard from the American Academy of Psychiatry and Law says that a mental health professional's objectivity is enhanced when the professional considers all of the sources of information available when forming an opinion to be offered in court. That's one. Also, with which I am very well familiar, the American Psychological Association's Ethical Principles and Code of Conduct 9.01 says that when offering an opinion, if the evaluator is aware of certain information that he or she didn't develop or wasn't available but could be relevant and helpful, then they have a responsibility to tell their audience and their reporter through their testimony what information wasn't available and how the absence of that information could negatively impact the conclusions they ultimately drew.
And Dr. Hagen, as a result of everything you reviewed, what opinion did you reach about whether the forensic assessment standards were applicable to a mental health professional's assessment?
I offer the following opinion to a reasonable degree of psychological certainty. Those standards which I just cited are applicable when a mental health professional offers opinions having assessed a person for the purpose of litigation, that is, for going to court.
And what is the responsibility of a mental health professional when offering an assessment of a person in court for litigation purposes?
To explore all of the sources of information that could be relevant and helpful, and to identify those sources that could have been useful but weren't available or weren't available at the time, and to state what impact the absence of that information could have on their ultimate opinion.
And does that relate to?
Okay, so it seems to me that this doctor is assessing the other doctor's opinion. It seems like that's where this defense team is trying to go in the hinting here at certain standards applied when someone is evaluating a person for purposes of litigation. And so we're going to get into more of the crux of this in just a moment. Let's hit a break. When we come back, we'll return to the courtroom here on Court TV Live.
Abby Zwerner, she was a teacher who was shot by her student. Her student was 6 years old.
She is now suing for $40 million.
They need close security, they failed to act, and Abby was shot.
Proper protocol was not followed. Their side battling that it is part of the job, just outrageous.
The first grader shoots teacher civil trial. Live coverage today on Court TV.
Welcome Welcome back to Court TV Live. So what we have on the stand here in Virginia is a psychologist who is talking about the standards that must be applied when you evaluate a person for purposes of litigation. So it seems to me where this testimony is going is in the direction of criticizing what was done with the plaintiff's expert witness who took the stand last week and who was very good and very friendly with the jury, might I add. So it seems that that's where this defense team is starting. And we don't have a horse in this race. No horse in this race. I got to tell you, I just teach trial advocacy. It's what I do. You always start strong. Primacy and recency. You got to start with your strongest witness right out of the gate. So it should have been someone incredibly powerful to get into the defense case and show the other side of the story that the jury didn't hear from all last week. They started with clips of the plaintiff's deposition, which went real flat, and now this doctor who's going to be critical of their expert. What about the story? What about the perspective of Dr. Ebony Parker? I think the jury wants to hear from her. Let's go back in together now.
And does that relate to issues about the amount of the source of information that the mental health professional has?
It does.
Okay, and what about reliance on self-report versus other information?
Well, self-report means when the person who's being evaluated comes in and tells the evaluator information. A good starting point. But it's not the end point. It's important for an evaluator to consider all of the information, including information that may not line up exactly with what the person said. Just like in court, under direct exam, you're not just going to hear my answers to these questions. There'll be cross-exam so the jury can figure out what weight to give what I have to say. That's analogous to when an assessment is done. You would ask the person, how are you doing? How are you feeling? What's going on? What seems to be the problem? But when it's done with reasonable foreknowledge, that is, you know in advance that this is going to be used to assist a judge or jury in determining a legal fact, then there is a responsibility to develop collateral informants and to review records so that you have the full movie of the person's life rather than a snapshot at a moment in time.
Does the mental health professional rely on any psychological testing?
Objection, Your Honor. It's outside the designation. I don't know what we're talking about.
All right. What is, do you have a response?
I'm sure it's in his designation. Do you want me to? Your Honor, the report is 23 pages. I will not spend the time going through it now. I'll move on to something else. There's plenty of other things we can talk about.
That's sustained. Go ahead.
Okay. Does the mental health professional consider the person's adjustment prior to the index event for which they have been engaged?
Yes, the mental health professional doesn't cherry pick the information.
I object. The question isn't, does this person do this or that? This person's been proffered to testify as to what a mental professional ought to do or should do. And the framing of the question is, do they do this? Do they do that? Do they do this? Isn't appropriately frame the issue within the context of what he's been proffered to testify to.
You have a response?
I can rephrase the question. Should a mental health professional consider records and information prior to the Intex event?
Yes.
And where would one gain that type of information?
Well, from what the person tells them and what they read from other sources. They need to have an appreciation of the context of why are they even getting this referral? What's the question to the evaluator?
Does the mental health, or would a mental health professional consider functioning prior based on collateral interviews and such?
Absolutely.
And Dr. Hagen, what is the mental health professional's responsibility if they don't do all of the things that you just said?
They have a responsibility to their audience to say, here's some things that I didn't develop. Here's some things that I sought, but they weren't available to me when I formed my opinion. And here's how the absence of that information could impact the opinion that I developed.
Do you hold all of your opinions to a reasonable degree of psychological certainty?
I do.
Go ahead. Thank you, Dr. Hagen.
My turn?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, let's talk about the start of the defense case. You know, analyzing the trial advocacy is an important part of what we do here at Court TV. And I have a litigation consultant who happens to be our guest analyst this hour, Sunny Slaughter, on the program with us. Okay, Sunny, if it were us advising this legal team, things would look a lot different with this defense case. Tell me what you think would be the most effective, compelling way to start this out if you're those lawyers representing Ebony Parker.
Put Ebony Parker on the witness stand.
And bingo,
to tell her story.
His name-o. Yep. Yep, okay. Put her up there.
Because we don't know. We've only heard one side. So the best person to tell the story, her story, would be her. So put her on the witness stand. Because what is happening right now, I literally thought I was dumb. Because I said, what is happening here? I don't understand what this man is doing. The expert is trying to talk about the other expert. But let's get the narrative together first. Let's get her story. Let's get her on the witness stand to hear what she has to say. Because what they're doing right now could have been after she spoke and told her story, if it was even necessary. I don't even know if this man's testimony is even necessary at all. Let's hear from her.
Exactly. And Sunny, thank you for being so real. You could never be dumb. You are brilliant. And, you know, I was listening to it at first. I'm going, where are they going with it? I'm sure you were thinking this, like, where is this? What is this that we're watching right now? So, yes, thank you for being so real about it. And it just was a bad choice
Yes.
it's like it's so lackluster. It's going over like two lead balloons. First the depo, then this guy criticizing I can't speak today, criticizing the other doctor. If I could talk on this Monday, as I'm giving the criticisms, I can't get them out. So yeah, I mean, he's talking about the other doctor didn't follow certain standards to do the evaluations for purposes of litigation. Like, we work in litigation and our heads are swimming. I can't imagine what the juries think. They're going, huh? Call Ebony Parker. Yeah, call Ebony Parker.
Yes. I literally kept saying, okay, I'm dumb. Okay, maybe I don't understand. And I know, the background folks, the tech teams, they're like, can she shut up? Because I'm just saying, what is happening here?
No, you're brilliant. You're the furthest thing from that. You are brilliant, Sunny Slaughter. And this was not a brilliant start to the defense case. Not at all. And there doesn't need to be a buildup for her. Just call her. She's the defendant. Call her. It looks like you're not shying away from it. Oh, I'm being told we have 15 seconds. I could talk to you all day, Sunny. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to end this segment for now, and we're going to go back in and see what the cross-examination shows in this case in Virginia.